This time we are in London, hitting up 3 brand new CEX stores, looking for cheap bangers to add to my ever-growing game collection here on the crazy world of CEX. Welcome to my continuing mission to visit every CEX store in the entire world. From the weird to the wonderful, the big to the small, I am here to visit them all. This is the crazy world of CEX. Folks, and welcome back to the crazy world of CEX. My continuing adventures try and visit every single CEX store in the entire world. And nowhere else in the entire world is there a greater concentration of CEX stores than in our nation's capital, London. Recently, I took a trip to London for AEW All In at Wembley Stadium. And of course, while I was there, I had to hit up as many CEX stores as possible. And over the course of the weekend, I managed to hit up 6 brand new CEX stores. And in this episode, we are visiting 3 brand new stores. But here's the thing, it was a very expensive weekend, and of course I have a finite budget when it comes to game hunting, so unfortunately some difficult decisions had to be made this time of what games to add to the collection. But fear not, we still have some awesome cheap bangers to add to the collection. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now let's catch a train and head to London. Here we are then, bright and early on a Sunday morning at Norwich train station. You may be wondering why me and my brother were getting the train from Norwich so early. Well, this was the bank holiday Sunday of AEW All In live at Wembley, and we were heading down for an absolutely amazing wrestling experience. But of course, while we were down there, we wanted to hit up as many CEX stores as possible over the weekend. So we jumped on the tube and ended up at our first location, Walthamstow. And straight away, you can see this is a fairly large CEX store. And the window had some awesome items, including this amazing Skyrim Collector's Edition right here. But this wasn't the only Collector's Edition. Here we have the Far Cry 5 one. And also the other side, one I haven't seen before, this incredible Mortal Kombat PlayStation 5 Collector's Edition with this Scorpion statue. Some great items in the window, and honestly, I'm just excited to see what's in store. Taking a look around, and first impressions, this looks to be a fairly large CEX store, and it looks like the shelves were absolutely packed. But of course, first place to look is the glass cabinet of dreams. You can see there's some really nice retro bits straight away as soon as we look in the cabinet right here. A lot of controllers and a surprisingly large amount of PlayStation 1 games, even though honestly, they look a little bit unloved, a little like they've kind of been chucked in there, but some really good titles here, some really nice GameCube games, some Master System games, just a really good selection of games here, including a very large selection of high-end PSP games. First stop, we're hitting up the PlayStation 3 section, and this caught my eye straight away. The infamous Special Edition. So this comes with a cardboard sleeve, and unfortunately the sleeve was a little bit rough. This is a really cool game, definitely one I'm keeping an eye out for, but looking for it in better condition. This came as a surprise. The PlayStation 3 version of Spider-Man Edge of Time is £60, but it's listed as an Xbox 360 rarity with the manual for just £50. Honestly, I'm surprised the PlayStation 3 version is so much more expensive. Now, whenever I go to any CEX store, I do check out the Nintendo Wii U games, as in most cases, these sections are getting smaller and smaller, but here was a pretty healthy selection of Wii U games, and honestly, a lot of the biggest and best titles available, so it was really nice to see for a good change. Much like Infamous earlier, this is another special edition which I'd love to add to the collection, but sadly I can never seem to find it in good condition because, alas, once again, the cardboard sleeve was a little bit rough. Like I said at the start of the video, I'm on a tight budget this time, and this one stung. This one could come back to haunt me in the future. I just couldn't afford to pick this game up this time, knowing how many CEX stores I was going to be visiting. It was complete. It was £35. It has since dropped to £30. Will I be able to pick up in the future? Who knows? That's the gamble you take. Comment down below if you've played this one, Marvel Midnight Suns. This game looks absolutely incredible, and as a Marvel fan, I'm very tempted to pick this one up, especially as it just seems to get cheaper and cheaper. But next to it was a game which I've been looking to add to my collection for a very long while, No More Heroes free for the PlayStation 5. And again, this game has got super duper cheap. For just £12 for a physical copy of this game, yes, I'm going to pick it up, and inside was a very cool surprise. Here's something I've never seen before in a CEX store: separate queues for people buying and selling. A really good idea from this, our first of 3 CEX stores. 1 down, 2 to go here on A Crazy World of CEX. A short tube ride away and we find ourselves at our next CEX store, this time Edmonton. And straight away as I walked in here, I was pleasantly surprised. Once again, this was a fairly large CEX store, had loads of games on the shelves, and more importantly, a lot of glass cabinets of dreams. And that's where we're starting off straight away. Some really nice PlayStation 4 controllers there, some really nice collector's editions, including this collector's edition of Driver for the PlayStation 3, which looks super duper cool. Once again, a pretty good selection of PlayStation 1 games in here, this time stacked a little bit more nicely, and also some PS2 rarities, off to a strong start. Continuing on through the glass cabinets of dreams, we have a selection of controllers, a little stack of Dreamcast games, because honestly, I feel like we are seeing less and less Dreamcast games in CEX, and another console which we are seeing less and less games for in CEX is the Sega Saturn. It's not very often you see games for the Sega Saturn, which is a shame, as it's a console I really enjoy collecting for. Continuing the Sega theme, we have a pretty decent selection of Mega Drive games, including the whole Sonic trilogy. But again, here is a thing we are seeing more and more in CEX: less and less Mega Drive games complete with the manual, which is a real shame as a completionist myself. But one thing I am picking up more often these days is loose N64 games, as these just seem to be getting cheaper and cheaper in CEX, and honestly, loose, you can grab a bargain. Once again, checking the Wii U section, and unfortunately, due to the fact I have around 80 Wii U games in my collection already, it is getting increasingly hard to find games which I still need. Once again, another special edition here, once again in the cardboard sleeve, and unfortunately, once again, very rough. This was kind of weird here in Edmonton. The Xbox 360 section was about the same size as the Xbox One section. In a world where the Xbox 360 sections are getting smaller and smaller, this was very strange to see. I was also generally surprised at how many PSP games and PS Vita games were here in this branch of CEX. It's a section which is getting smaller and smaller, much like the GameCube section, and also much like the OG Xbox section. But there's definitely gems which can be found here. Never seen this game before, not sure what it was, so I did leave it behind. But yeah, some really cool games here, and I've said it loads of times before, I still believe the OG Xbox is one of the most fun consoles to collect for, and also, more importantly perhaps, one of the cheapest and most affordable consoles to collect for. But one console which is not cheap nor affordable to collect for is the Nintendo Switch. And this is why, more often than not, I don't really look in the Switch section here in CEX. But today I'm giving it a bit of a go. That's because, honestly, I think most of the time Switch games are slightly overpriced in CEX. But I always like a challenge, and today I'm going to see if we can find any cheap, emphasis on the cheap, bangers here in CEX. Let's get stuck into this Switch section right here then and see if we can find some cheap bangers. By cheap bangers, I mean around the £10 mark. And this game straight away jumped out to me, my friend Pedro, for just £8. Now this was a game I originally played on Xbox Games Pass. I really enjoyed it, and I think this may be the only way to play this game physically. So for £8, this is very high up in our contendership for a cheap Switch banger to pick up here. I was tempted by this game right here, The Last Worker. A little bit more expensive, but I didn't know anything about it. So comment down below if you've played The Last Worker. Finally, out of morbid curiosity, I was quite tempted to pick up this game right here, but sadly it's still somehow £15, but honestly, I have heard this game is terrible. Here is something which really interests me when I'm shopping in CEX, the discrepancies between Xbox prices and PlayStation prices, and I think this comes down to one major factor: the effect of Xbox Games Pass, because so many of these games are on Games Pass and so many people don't bother to pick up a physical copy of these games. And more often than not, you can get these games a lot cheaper on Xbox physically because of this reason. As you can see here, Aliens Dark Descent is a lot cheaper. And I think most of the time this is the case when it comes to the Xbox 360. Games Pass is unfortunately driving down the price of physical games. But of course, Games Pass isn't totally to blame when it comes to the price of physical Xbox games. Sometimes I guess the games are just a little bit rubbish. Part of me really wants to play this game, but I think I'll wait till it drops in price a lot more. Our final stop this time on the crazy world of CEX is Enfield, and once again this was a surprisingly large CEX store and it had a pretty good window display. Some interesting games here in the window, especially Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not really sure why that was there. Some nice coloured switches, a decent selection of retro, and honestly it got me pretty excited to see what else was hiding in store, so let's get into it. Slightly less shelves in here than we've seen in our previous two CEX stores this time, but more importantly it did have a fairly large selection of glass cabinets of dreams and a decent selection of Xbox 360 collector's editions here, a very nice example of a boxed Xbox Series X, and more importantly some retro, including a Sega Saturn game which I was sorely missing from my collection in amazing condition and also for an amazing price, complete with the manual. A really good find and a great way to start this hunt. Of time of recording, this game has just been re-released on the PlayStation 5 in a remastered inverted commas version. Honestly, for my money, you might as well pick up this copy for the PlayStation 4 for just £8 and play it physically on your PS5. But in the world of remasters we live in, I do not recommend this one either. The Dreamcast collection for the Xbox 360, simply due to the reason Crazy Taxi does not have the correct songs, and thus, I just hate this version of the game. But for all you Xbox 360 collectors out here, this is definitely something to keep an eye out for. The Ultimate Adventure Pack and the Ultimate Stealth Pack. These are two collections which I think in years to come are going to get very, very desirable. They're fairly affordable at the moment and definitely worth keeping an eye out for. Just make sure they have the correct discs and grab now before it's too late. This is a game which sadly most people have never played and may never play, Exo Primal. This is an online only game but with a twist. You play as a kind of exosuit and you are fighting waves and waves of dinosaurs. It's on Xbox Games Pass, but sadly servers will close soon, so check it out, it's worth it. Once again, I found myself tempted by the Switch section in this game right here, Bayonetta and the Lost Demon. Now, I'm a massive fan of the first two Bayonetta games. I'm still yet to play the third game, but really intrigued by this strange offshoot of this incredible series. But also in the Switch section, I did manage to find the holy trilogy of bad Switch games. Starting off with Rise of Kong, a game so bad they have left a PDF picture in the game rather than the cutscene. Then just quickly went past South Park Snow Day 2, The Walking Dead Destinies, which looks like it was released maybe PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I know graphics aren't everything, but that game also supposedly has terrible gameplay. And then we have Zombieland Double Tap. Now, I've heard this game is terrible. I may be wrong. If you've played it and like it, let me know in the comments down below. But let's get back to South Park Snow Day, and I want to know, as a South Park fan myself, is it worth playing this game? Can any other fellow South Park fans please comment down below if they've played this and enjoyed it, or does it fall into the same category as these other terrible Switch games? Finally, still in the Switch section, we have some real what kind of games, like why is this horse riding game £45? I'm guessing it's just incredibly rare, but honestly, who is going to pay £45 for this just because it's rare? A real oddity for sure, but this one also really knocked me for 6. I have no idea why Minecraft Story Mode, the complete adventure, is expensive on the Switch. Is it due to the fact that the entire game is on the cartridge? Comment down below if you know why this game has a £50 price tag. Heading to the counter here at Enfield, and there was a little bit of retro hiding behind here, but nothing really too much to write home about. So that is 3 CEX stores out of the 6 we visited at this absolutely incredible weekend for AEW All In, and of course the show was absolutely incredible. So as I said, 3 CEX stores done, another 3 to come very soon in the future, but for this episode, of course, we have one last stop to make here on the crazy world of CEX. Here we are then, back in the fine city of Norwich on a very busy Thursday morning at my local CEX store, and I'm looking for a specific game this time. That's because there is a banger which is sorely missing from my PlayStation 1 collection, and this is a real cheap banger. Just £10 for a complete with manual PlayStation 1 game, and I'm definitely hoping to pick it up right here. But you'll have to stick around until the pickups to find out which game it is. But trust me, for £10 it is a game which everyone, and I do mean everyone, needs in their PS1 collection. Let's take it back to the games room for the pickups. Here we are then, back in the game, so after visiting 3 brand new CEX stores in our nation's capital, London. And like I said at the start of this video, we were on a finite budget this time, but I think we've done pretty well. We have picked up some absolute bangers for the collection on a budget. And first off, we have this game right here for the PlayStation 5, No More Heroes 3. And this is an absolutely fantastic game. I already have this on the Switch, but I just wanted to play it on the PlayStation 5. I think it's such a good game and a really underrated series, which a lot of people have not experienced. And honestly, storyline wise, you can just jump in here on the 3rd game. But I said there was something special about this game. If you open it up, it does have some cool bits inside. So first off, it has a massive poster, which I'm not going to unfurl because I'll never be able to get it back together, but it does also come with some art cards. And honestly, in the digital age, it's just cool to see little bonus bits like this in a game, and for 12 quid, a definite bargain. In our next CEX store, we found something you do not see every day, a cheap Switch game for just £8, My Friend Pedro. This is like a pretty crazy side-scrolling shooting game, kind of in the vein of like Contra, stuff like that, but just with the insanity level driven all the way up. A really, really solid side-scrolling shooter, and a lot cheaper on the Switch than any other console. The PlayStation 4 version of this game is super, super expensive because it was limited edition, and honestly, for 8 quid, this one's a great addition to anyone's Switch collection. Who says that retro game collecting has to be expensive? In our last CEX store in London, we managed to pick up some retro gaming cardboard for under £10. Hardcore 4x4 for the Sega Saturn. This is boxed and complete, and honestly, with the nature of the cardboard cases for the Saturn, this is in really, really good condition. It's not very often you see Saturn games in CEX, especially complete and in this good condition. And like I said, for 8 quid for some retro gaming cardboard, can't go wrong. And finally, from my local CEX store here in the fine city of Norwich, we managed to pick up a retro gaming banger for just £10. Once again, boxed to complete, this time for the PlayStation 1 Croc Legend of the Gobbos with manual in really, really nice condition. And I don't care what you say, this is a bona fide PS1 classic. Yes, there were some very, very good 3D platformers on the N64, but the PlayStation 1 also had some absolute bangers, such as this game right here. It is, of course, boxed and complete. The box is in really, really good condition with the manual and the disc, and I have heard rumours online they are remastering this game very, very soon. So for £10, now can be a very good time to pick this game up cheap while you still can. There we have it, folks. That was another episode of the crazy world of CEX, and 3 more stores cross off the list of frankly hundreds which I still have left to visit all around the world. But stay tuned to the channel, as very, very soon we'll have another 3 CEX stores from our nation's capital, London. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See you soon.